Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Summer School. We are here with a super awesome guest. I'm super stoked. His film work is absolutely incredible. If you have not seen his work, you need to go check. But before we even dive into who this is and the show, I got to shout out our sponsor for the podcast, Narrative. Narrative is an AI culling, editing, blogging software, and I've been using it specifically with culling for almost like 5 years now since they released. It's game changing. And then the editing as well, use it for my base edit. You can even download my AI preset. So if you guys need some helpful tools that save you time, go ahead and check them out. They're in the show notes and the description. But for now, we're going to get over to Daniel Knight Harris. Guys, I'm so excited. I've been in his DMs for quite some time. And it's just so awesome that I have this opportunity by having a podcast to interview people who I think's work is just super freaking cool. So talented, Daniel. I'm super excited to have you on, but I would love if you tell everyone, instead of me introing you, I mean, he wrote an awesome little bio for the blog and I could read it and it's so good, but I'd rather you just kind of tell us all a little bit about your journey instead, because I know it started in like fashion. I mean, I think you said 2008 was when you started shooting, but you've been doing weddings maybe for the past 4 or 5 years, but you've been shooting for a long time. So I would love to just know more about everything.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for having me on first thing.
Yes.
I've been working professionally in photography since 2008, and that was working for one of the sort of leading music photography magazines. And that went from the intern desk into shooting like my whole time at college. I'd pretty much disappear in the evenings across to Glasgow, and I was living in Edinburgh at the time. And I was basically Scotland's music photographer for this magazine.
Wow.
So I'd be launched out in all these different directions. And from that, I sort of end up doing touring, which is like the very intense, low light, you're not really able to look after yourself end of music, and gently moved into sort of knowing bands better, knowing artists better, and then moving into the studio and doing like press and album campaigns and things like that.
Wow.
So I still do it. I still shoot that in the off seasons. Now that I'm more wedding centric, but I was really known for like very like moody, vivid, strong art direction, art departmented like studio work for our like record label artists effectively.
Wow. I don't think I knew that side. I knew the fashion brand side, but I don't think I knew the music industry side. So that's so sick.
I did, yeah, probably like the first 8 years, and then I ended up working at Sony Music in London as a music video producer and creative.
Wow.
So my job was just to every 6 weeks I had to deliver about 6 to 10 music videos,
That's a
and we were
lot.
and we were traveling all over the planet. And we were all on. There were six of us, all on really different salaries. But one thing that was always the way: none of us were ever in the same place at the same time. We're all just sort of going off to the various airports and then meeting bands we were working with out where they were. And it was like it was a good like learning thing. But then I shifted back into my freelance and my own business again. But the artist stayed with me, and then I started shooting their weddings. And that was my first touch point with weddings. I had 3 celebrity ones in my first year.
Wow.
And I don't know necessarily whether it became like the thing I didn't ever want to do again, because it was a really intense start. I had like 3 NDAs in the first year, and when I was trying to build this thing a little bit. So obviously you can't. But I fell in love with the wedding work way more than what I was doing in music. So I just gently moved everything across. And I think I had the same thing that everyone experiences, where you have like the first year, but you don't really have control over what you're doing. Then year 3, you start to like have a little bit of a say over what's going on. And then year 4, it feels like I had a really curated year. And then year 5's been really intense. And we talked about rebalancing. We're not allowed to reference things before we started the podcast, but this has definitely been like the big scary year, and I've learned too much, and definitely know that I need to dial it back a little bit, find more balance, self-care, how I do this so I can do it for longer if that's what I want to do. So yeah, That wasn't a very good background on me. Let me chuck some more background
There's
at you.
I know that there's so much more too, which is crazy. I think we only touched the surface of what, like the first 10
Yeah, the like
years?
so I basically did. I always had photography in the background, and I did art directing for a really decent period, and that was sometimes for brands like Pinterest. It was sometimes for
Mm,
advertising agencies where I'd be given like a multitude of brands to do campaigns for. And again, like they'd commission me to do the commercial work for those brands sometimes, especially as budgets were kind of like either
mm,
really, really crazy high or there wasn't anyone worth having. So I was kind of in this middle weird gray area where I was hired by them and they could kind of give me a freelance rate outside. So I
mm,
got this benefit of having loads of big brands on my book really quickly. And then I eventually went, although I'd reached creative director level in advertising, I went, I want to pull everything I've learned from this. I know how to run a set of 100 people. I know how to like nail a creative. I know how to build a team, and have had like a really solid teams for a really long period.
mm,
Um, and what's been so amazing is I just went, I don't really see this in weddings very much, but I feel like if I just keep doing this, I might find my own niche and people will find me for it. So I've kind of noticed this year very much there's been a greater presence of this creative director style photographer
mm,
appearing. And I know like some other newsletters and things like that have really like started to coin the term creative director photographers.
mm.
But that's always been a part of what I've done, at least in weddings.
What would you say for you is the main differentiating factor between someone, in your opinion at least, that would operate their weddings from a more creative director approach versus someone who would not, or who would just operate it from, a wedding photographer is the only technical experience they have. That is what they are. What would you say actually differentiates the two types of photographers?
So I effectively have year-round conversations with couples that have booked me.
Hmm.
And obviously, there's some couples that don't lean on me as much as others. And some lean on me so much that there was literally daily conversations. And I genuinely cover visual aspects from dress through to like suit choice, through
Hmm.
to design of the actual tablescapes, through to like timeline and flow, and even just down to like the basic of recommendations sometimes of you just being like, this person is incredible and they will keep that part of your day up and at the right energy.
Hmm.
So I'd say one of the biggest differentiators is I'm pretty much actively involved in every single dress choice if they haven't happened at the point that I'm onboarded. And
Wild.
I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the fashion side. I know a lot of the designers or like the retailers where they have the right designers for certain like body types and builds. And I kind of get each bride to kind of hit me up directly away from their partner and go, hey, let's talk. Like, can I see something of what you're into? And then I can show you some more sort of like stimulus and more stuff to look at. And it's just
Hmm.
like having those like away from the playing field kind of conversations. um, they love it because they get to experience more stuff. Like they're absorbing so much information all the time. People typically, especially when they're commissioning, sort of, I'd say like the more like mid to luxury market, they're commissioning people when they're getting married for the first time. So this is all new to them.
Hmm.
So just being able to be like a friendly, like guiding person. I'm not giving everyone the same designer. I'm literally going, this is going to look incredible on you. I think this type of dress shape or this designer, um, should we look in this space? And it's just like really lovely having the back and forth.
Hmm.
Um, but what I would say is most of my clients are stateside, so it's a lot of like I get like a dump of like 40 images at like 3 a.m. for me because I'm based in the UK, and I
Yeah.
wake up to whoa. So yeah, I think differentiation wise, it also comes across in how you edit and how you. I'd say I still behave a little bit like I did in sort of commercial and in music, where I take every wedding as its own unique brief.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking across the language of it, how the couple kind of blast out into the different areas of personality and the different sort of like specialisms that they've brought to their day that are
Hmm.
unique to them. And I really consider that, and I try and reflect that in the way I render images, or
Mm.
how intimate I might lens things, or there's like loads of creative choices I bring in to try and reflect a couple. So my wedding side to side can sometimes, the colors might have the language, and the posing and the way I direct can vary hugely, just because I treat them as like bespoke things.
Yeah.
And that's that creative director aspect. Is it's not just like, I'm a photographer, I'm turning up and being me. I'm a photographer, I'm being sensitive to all this interesting creative stuff that's coming my way, and how then I interpret it out.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. Do you ever think on the logistical side, though? I would feel like other people would maybe have this question, so I'm intrigued to ask you. On the
Yeah.
logistical side of higher end weddings, which to me, your weddings look at higher end than maybe the average American wedding, at least. To me, they look probably even more higher end than that. But on that side of things, do you ever have like contention with being that involved with those weddings, having full service planners? Like, does it ever bother them, or is it something where you're having a conversation with them like, hey, this is who I am, this is how I work, like I will be talking with the client? Because I know in some worlds, like there's been weddings where I probably would have never even met the client if they didn't personally DM me. I don't know if who signed that contract. Was it the planner? Was it the client? You know what I mean? Like, is it ever strange with the planners, or do they just know, like, yeah, Daniel's cool like this, and we respect that he has good fashion taste? Like, it's not going to be a contention. Do you know what I mean?
So I think I've tried a really like specific route
Mm,
where I've kind of either inherit planners, so I've like been involved earlier.
mm,
But I would say I've still kind of operated with very grassroots but luxury
mm-hmm,
weddings.
mm-hmm.
So it feels like I can be really close to a couple, and then the planners on my team.
That's
Like we're
beautiful.
we're a really tight team. I don't think I've ever rocked up and felt like I should just put on a white jacket and start serving a drink to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've seconded at some of those weddings, and I've seen it, and it's been a really quick directive of, wow, it's amazing how much breadth there is in this industry. And I
Mm-hmm.
generally, I would say this year probably had 50% of my weddings with no planners, and
Wow.
and I'd say the 50% I did, I became really tight with pretty much everyone I worked with.
Mm,
And especially with the ones in Europe, there's a real artistry, and lack of how do I describe it? It doesn't feel like there's this whole earn your time aspect.
mm,
There's a You have to command a room and have to look after people, and you have to make sure that you give everyone time and respect, and be cohesive. Like that's all planners are looking for over here, is cohesion.
mm-hmm.
So really the kind of the pre-game that I do with couples is just like, that is all part of the big picture. It doesn't ever come across as sort of,
Like doing their
I've
job.
yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like be a soundboard, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not messaging people actively. I'm saying, hey, this is available to you.
Yeah.
Use it as
Use
much
it
as
if
you
you
want.
want to. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if
because
I
that's
heard
the
you, I
right
would hit
way.
you up. I'd be like, dude, what do
Yeah.
you think of this dress? I need your opinion. You have good taste, you know?
And
Yeah.
it's way more fun, but equally like there can be things like, there's one LA brand, Sank, who I think some people
Yes.
call them Sync, some people call them Sank.
I love them.
And we had a really good rapport, and we ended up doing a shoot together, and I had a couple of
Mm.
brides sign on for their dresses, and because I could message the designer or the business director, I could be like, hey, they've got 10 months, what's possible? Because their
Yeah.
dresses are super bespoke, very like delicate
I
silks.
love their dresses. I was following them before they released their first dress because their photographer was from where I was from back in the South, I'm pretty sure. I was following him. And this is like, yeah, she hadn't even launched her first dress. And I was like, oh, what are the odds? Now it's like a popular brand. But this is, man, I was probably a child when her like Instagram technically started, but no dresses were released. It was crazy that I had been following that closely, but genuinely only because the photographer who was shooting with them I happened to follow. So I was like, oh, let's follow this new dress brand. And now it is, most
Boom.
people know of the brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Such cool
It's so
dresses, so
you can kind
unique.
of see how that that's like a little like edge of I can help them get to something,
Mm-hmm.
even though they might have run out of time for several designers or things like that. And
Mm.
that's not the aim of what I'm doing. That's just like, it just means that people can lean on me a bit harder if they get into trouble, because it's so hard to,
Mm-hmm.
with that many things to pay for and sign off, and
Yeah.
you can get behind on stuff so easily.
No, 100%. And a lot of higher end weddings happen fast. Like I've never actually thought about the fact that they happen pretty fast, but not all designers can crank out dresses that fast. I've never put those dots together. Like a lot of higher end weddings can happen in 6 to 9 months, sometimes less.
I
But
think
yeah,
this
at the
also might be
designer side.
another, it might be another aspect to why I've managed to sort of avoid the really structured planning
Mm-hmm.
approach, is because I've been really lucky that my bookings have been early, so that when some of the bigger sort of what I describe as scarier, because I am just trying to enjoy the shit out of what I'm doing. I don't know
Yes.
if I can swear, sorry.
No, do
Um,
whatever.
um, they come in late, and then I'm just like, I'm really sorry. Like, love what you do, love your work, but I'm not free. So I think there's an
Yeah.
element of people who are planning their own stuff start earlier.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, having seconded, I can totally understand how far apart some photographers end up being from their couples. And that for me is just
Yes.
not, it's not my business model. I like being, like, for me, a lot of the enjoyment comes from creating comfort for a couple. And therefore, our portrait shoots just hit a whole, like,
Mm-hmm.
different level, because
Yeah.
they trust me. They are like stoked by that point, when they're like, "Oh, we're going to do our portraits now. This is going to be like a really fun like 20 minutes."
Mm.
That's like the dream for me. And if things are like too structured and too like hardcore, um, you lose that closeness, which then affects
Yeah.
the images. They look more wooden. Then your work starts to change, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a part of why I have this approach.
No, I loved hearing this whole thing because I feel like very similar, but you had more experience as a creative director. But even my engagement sessions, I hit a burnout once in my career where I just like wasn't super fulfilled because I felt like I was kind of doing the same thing all the time. And I'm someone who like loves change. It's just who I am. And I was also exhausted. But I was just doing a little too much and it was a little too repetitive. And I did a shoot with creative directors in Seattle. I did this fashion shoot and it changed my whole perspective of how I approached my photography, my wedding photography, my couples photography. They were so deep with this fashion shoot. There was a whole script, like a literal script for the editorial of like what it was supposed to mean, like chapters. It was long, it was beautiful. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I reflected after it and I was like, if they can do this much with a fashion editorial, like there's not technically innate emotion. It was created, Why am I getting bored with couples sessions? Like, why can't I make them more? Like, why can't they be more? Like, we have literally people with actual, stories and lived experiences, and why can't I just elevate that into a place where I enjoy it? Where no one session should technically be the same. And it changed my whole perspective on how I shoot. And so I twisted it. I'm not maybe shooting in your way or approach. I'm not maybe involved in the dresses and stuff, but kind of similar for me. The eye-opening experience was a fashion shoot, which is so interesting. That's why I wanted to ask you all of your opinions, because I was like, wow, that's so cool to like hear it from someone who was actually a creative director, their thoughts on creative directing, because I kind of shifted all of my sessions after that shoot I had with them. And I love it so much more. I'm like way more involved. They're longer sessions now. Engagement sessions are now like my favorite thing to shoot. I freaking love them. Whereas I was like tired of them. I literally looked at my husband one day and I was like, I think I am
I think they're
done
done.
shooting engagement
Yeah.
sessions because I'm bored and it's not fun anymore. And he was like, you're literally a wedding photographer. You should probably not stop shooting engagement sessions. Like, maybe you need to think
we
about them
gotta
more,
we
you
gotta
know?
keep the lights on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the thing that's really crazy, and it's probably worth emphasizing, is when you go from those sort of like advertising agency or more like brand based shoots, everything is sort of pre-planned in a sense, and
Mm-hmm.
then the photographer's bringing their icing to it. So they're commissioning someone based on something they've seen in their folio that they're like, that's an interesting take on what we're trying to do. So they almost need to see the idea that they're going for in your work already.
Yeah.
It's quite like a archaic way of thinking about it. But then you're walking into these pre-production meetings where they have like 100-page documents, there's brand guidelines you got to look through. There's so many sort of like very hardcore aspects to it that take all the fun and life out of it. Then the sign-off process is also that too. So the fact that we get to do things in something that circumvents like a joyful thing, we have so much more rope to like be creative than they have. More budget, we have more scope to actually play. And I think we all kind of have this kid, like whether we think we're adults or not. I know we both have children, but like I still feel like a kid. And when sometimes when I'm in those like big scary rooms and I'm shooting, that like you handle it and you run it and it's fine. And you definitely, over the years, you get super used to being in those things. And I sometimes maybe like being a main character syndrome kind of guy in those rooms. And then on a wedding day, it just, everything is softened out and smooth. And often people ask me, like, don't you find wedding photography like a really high octane, like stressful thing? And I'm like, it's actually, you have 10 hours, 11 hours to keep finding interesting stuff when interesting stuff's happening.
Yeah.
Whereas
I think, weddings are beautiful, and it's so awesome hearing someone's perspective that has done higher production things, because I think wedding photographers do like to complain a lot. I think your perspective was so beautiful and a good reminder for everyone listening that it is crazy that we get a livable income type of wage to go do an art form that is such a beautiful, technically, in some ways, simple thing, at least according to you.
I appreciate it. I when I think about weddings, it also like on the flip side, you're covering a lot of genres really quickly. So I wouldn't say that still life was a thing of mine pre going into it. Table details and wider planner details, and if someone's like gone, whoa, that is a wall of flowers that costs $30,000, I need to go make sure that is covered in a certain way so it feels like scale wise. I feel like scale is something that a lot of people are looking for, so it feels bigger and it presents in a certain way. And I'd say my photography is quite intimate all the way through, and I don't put drones up. I don't try and sort of like break physics. I try and stay like wide and close, and a lot of my favorite photographers really do kind of harness that sort of. There's a girl who's LA based called Jess Workman, and I think she really like nails wide and close. Yeah. And that's like that intimate sort of way of telling the story. And people love the big scenes and
the sort drama.
I know. Yeah, and I think there's elements of showing like the atmosphere of spaces, but I definitely try and pass details off to my seconds, who I'll bring in specifically because they love it. And I handle people, they handle detail, because I can switch off quickly. But that still life aspect, I'm like, that's still life. Then there's street photography. Kind of weddings are kind of streets that you know everyone on. Then you've got portraiture.
Wait, that was so beautiful. Weddings are streets you know everyone on.
That's what I always say to a second, is like treat it like that. And then there's stuff like group portraits, which is kind of just people management. And then a tiny bit of noticing as soon as like people are off the hook with the shot. That's normally when the shot is. So there's like being attentive, and then also just like being able to almost be like army camp cadet leader, bossing everyone around for 10 minutes to get everyone. You guys do so many more family portraits than we do.
Yeah,
I do like 8. I think I do 8 groups, and it typically takes me about 5 minutes.
Oh, that would be beautiful. I would love that.
And I probably have like, I'd say 50% of my clients are from like the US or Canada now. And I've probably experienced the full set 2 or 3 times, where it was like 70 different iterations. And I was like, well, this is hardcore. I can see that being a regular thing over there, and that being really intense.
I've had a few where it's a lot of people, and it's almost to the point where how do you even in any way shape or form get these 40 people in one photo? We needed like a grand staircase. If we're at an outdoor wedding, like I'm not gonna have the 80-year-old grandma crouch on the ground. What are we gonna do? So I don't know, sometimes it feels like, yeah, I mean, they don't need the perfect photo for that, they just need a photo for a photo
Just
album.
need
It
it
does not need to
covered.
be that good. Yeah, it's crazy though, for sure. I feel like the average family photos, at least in for my weddings, are sometimes like 30, 45 minutes.
It's a long time,
It's a long
and
time.
it's normally the part of when I'm culling that I'm like, I'm just going to choose one frame.
Mhm.
Just going to choose one frame per group and keep
And this is
this.
where something like narrative, me and Daniel were talking about a little assisted culling. The family portraits be perfect because it ranks the images. So it'll just tell you the best family portrait based off of it analyzing if they're smiling and their eyes are open. So you don't have to zoom in to like know.
I
Yeah.
spend my whole time on like my 14-inch laptop, like squinting really closely at my screen, just like scanning the
Zooming in and
eyes.
out.
Yeah, I'm still in the sort
Oh.
of prehistoric era of all this stuff, just because I have such a strong belief that if I don't do it myself, something won't work out. I'm
Mm,
very, I don't know, I'm very curated. So I don't feel
yeah.
like I deliver so many images that I can't sort of like chef's kiss every single one. Um,
Hmm.
but totally hear what you're saying. I had like 50, maybe 55 people in one shot.
Wow.
So I really also am like very adverse to the whole high frame rate per second camera sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And if I have a second starting to go pew 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 loads, I sort of
You're
go,
like, you're
hey,
out of
can we?
here.
Never that far, but I'll just be like, hey, can you just put your camera on single shot the rest of the day and just walk around looking at stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the family sort of portraits, it's the only time in the day where I'll sort of cover off 3 or 4 frames per second. I still
Mm-hmm.
keep the camera like as low as it can go, but I just know if I take 3 or 4 in this situation, I know the eyes are going to hopefully hit
Oh, yeah.
everyone open at one point.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I've actually never had one where I've ever had to like face swap or anything. I've never in my history of weddings had someone accidentally closing eyes, which praise God, because I am not about to Photoshop swap someone's face. I don't want to do that. That's too much.
It's not fun,
Too much
not a good
work.
time.
I would rather just nail the image for sure. But I feel like this is a good segue into another topic I wanted to hit on because this was such a fun little tangent in creative direction. I feel like we could talk about it forever. But you guys, Daniel's like the film king and talking about shooting slower. I feel like it could be fun to hit on your style of film photography a little bit more and just d- anything about film that you would want to talk about. I am curious on your wedding days. Are you shooting digital and film or just film these days?
Digital and film,
Mm.
but I have like a really weird smorgasbord approach to cameras where like it doesn't benefit me. I'm really putting my body through the ringer, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm carrying 5 to 6 cameras at various points, and I don't feel so good. And I
Mm.
really, when you have ones in the city, I had one in London the other day. You can't really guarantee you're in one space for very long, so you're having to bring a lot with you, and you're
Mhm.
having to load it into one backpack. And I definitely needed an assistant this last weekend that just been because I was trying to bring like Pentax 6.7s and GFXs and like
Heavy.
big stuff with me and lighting. And I try, I travel probably, I'm probably on a plane for like 90% of my weddings. So
Mm.
I have to keep it within reason. And I'm building like a little armory of stuff. I've definitely got a really solid armory. Sometimes it gets bigger. Sometimes I have to like break it down a little bit. But on any given wedding, I have my GFX system, which I love. It's great for like really amazing light. I'm not sure it's the number one way in when you lose like good light, and at nighttime you have to really hack those cameras to make them work.
Mm.
Um, so I have like a full frame kit. I have a GFX digital medium format. Then I have a 6.7, a 605, and 235s, and then I
Mm.
have a digital rangefinder as well.
That is a lot. That is a lot.
But they
I
all
have a
have a
good
point of the
bit, but I
day.
think that's even more. Yeah, you're probably not wearing all of them at all times.
No,
Yeah.
I think I have a 4 camera rule. That's like the best way. So bridal prep, I have like it's almost like being an NFL coach. You kind of rotate things, and you just
Yes.
have to sort of I went to Sammy's camera in LA, and I remember once you put up like an Insta story being like, I'm at Sammy's cameras. And I remember being like, I absolutely love that place because it's so like zeitgeisty and weird, and there's like loads of studio equipment in there and
It is
stands, and
weird, yeah.
it has like
It's a
really
weird
odd
little
stuff.
store, yeah.
But it like brought back some like nice LA memories. And like when I was in there, I was like looking through the like used cameras and picked up a couple bits. And then they were ones that were just like way too heavy, and I kept on trying to force them into wedding days. And you definitely learn through failure with this stuff. And
Yeah.
you know, if you're hitting like 6 p.m. on a wedding day and your body's a bit battered, that you probably didn't maybe plan it well. So now I like pre the wedding, I write down what I'm doing at every point. So I know like the bridal prep, I've got a 35 that I lean on that I love, and my GFX. I know on the ceremony, I'm going to move to things that are, I go to a 28 and a 50 prime on my faster bodies. And then I put my fastest film body on me. That's a bit heavy, but I just suck it up.
What is your go-to fast film body when you say that? Like, what is your fast one?
So it's called a Nikon F6.
Okay.
Or Nikon.
I shot on an F3. Probably pretty similar.
F3 is the manual one. F6 is like, it was the last one they made before digital kind of just took over. And it was in theory even one, it was like the one they shouldn't have made. It was after everyone had moved on and they were like, lol, we're still here. What's going on? What's up? We got a new camera. And everyone was like, no, it's done. So they're just sitting there. They're really like low number of them in the world. But they're amazing. And I have a lot of mentees that I put onto that one. And then it's got a sister one called the F100.
Maybe I shot on the
really
F100, not the F3. Mine was not manual. It had autofocus.
Yeah, the F100 is amazing. And that would be like I would happily use that one as well as a fast camera.
I love the images that resulted from the Nikon that I used once. I literally just borrowed a friend's for like a studio shoot once. And I'm like, man, it was something in the F world of the Nikons. And it killed it. The photos were so good.
It's because you're so good. It's easy.
That's too kind.
It's not the stuff. And this is something I also argue. It's just like cameras are now so good that it's almost the least important part.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's fun film people. I love knowing like which ones they're actually liking these days. You know what I mean?
I had this London wedding I mentioned on Saturday that just gone, and it was dark from like 2 p.m. But they wanted 22 rolls of film.
Wow.
So obviously that doesn't quite stack up unless I'm on flash for like 3/4 of the day. And on that day, I gamed my Contax G2 so hard compared to what I would usually use it for. But it just sort of got me through that day.
Yeah.
I tried to force other things and they kind of just didn't work, and it was really obvious. I just kept just this little tiny 28 and a flash built in, done. See ya. It was so, that was like a lesson in sometimes you just gotta drop the plan and just follow what's working.
Sometimes I actually think about that with my digital work as well, because when I first started, I was mostly shooting digital. I mean, like, you know, I had like a manual SLR, like nothing crazy, like film wise. And I never used it in professional work for like the first few years that I shot photography. So I don't know. Sometimes I think back on those days and some of the interesting creative risks I took. And I think maybe I took more sometimes because my kit was so much simpler. I was looking for ways to make dynamic images maybe harder instead of just resulting to maybe I just changed the camera or I don't know, you know, when you have so many cameras around, sometimes it can be, in my opinion, distracting. Like I've been trying to remind myself of that sometimes. Like, yeah, just you don't need all the things, but I like all the things. I like having so many options at my disposal.
It's one of the nicest things about teaching is you kind of see what workflows for individuals really well. So I know it's been very like popular for people to be on 28 to 70 f2s, for example,
yes,
on their digital side, and that frees up if they're on a harness or something or a slider
it frees
thing.
Up everything for film. Yeah,
and then they'll have like I don't know, I don't see many people on Zooms on their film cameras, but even that, for those type of people, that's a really good idea too. And then you're just kind of like 2 cameras done. But for me, I've definitely found a lot of my creativity comes from making it a little bit harder. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not saying wedding photography is easy. It's making the cameras sort of like fight me a bit.
Mm.
I kind of like a little bit of adversity in how I have to use something. So it feels like I'm actively photographing something rather than just sort of like letting it think.
Mm. I think that's
So
beautiful. I
yeah,
think that's
the
an
the
awesome approach.
I started with just using like Leica M's, which were like manual digital. So I was really having to like craft out a shot and like force it in a sort of like I need to have set like 5 things for this to work.
Mm.
Whereas on my like Nikon digital thing, it feels like you can just wave it at
At
someone
things.
and it's kind of
Yeah.
good. And I just trying to
Oh.
get away from that because I think year one I came into this and I just had been doing studio shoots on just film for ages, and
Mm.
I was almost shooting too slowly. I was coming away with like 1,500 digitals from a wedding,
Mm.
being like, I think this is low. I don't have enough community to sense check this. Whereas now I'm like, it's a bit messy for fun. I'm shooting like 5 or 6 thousand images,
Mm.
and I'm really like covering quite a few different formats so that I have this like quite it's very crafted together. You can if I showed you the images, you wouldn't know which camera it was shot on.
Mm.
The
That's
colors
fun
are
though.
really tight. Um, and the biggest fight I've had this year is learning how to grade like 5 different brands to the same color.
Yeah. What about film too? Do you feel like the film is pretty cohesive with the digital, or do you think that they're kind of separate of each other?
I don't know if this is like a less about me one, most like just speaking generally. I feel so many people are emulating film in their digital at the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a popular trend, and it's what couples are really enjoying too. And it is truthfully, I think wedding photography got quite don't want to say sterile, but quite bland.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when people are emulating film, they're getting color casts and interesting tones, and things are just more vivid and alive and standing off the page a bit more. And it's not in a sort of like shoving the vibrance and saturation up. It's quite nuanced use of color.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing digital work getting just. I know there's obviously a split between sort of like very that French like airy look and then people who are like digging into this like film emulation sort of world. And I don't think there's any wrong or right with it. I'm definitely like, as I kind of said, I bespoke quite a lot. But some weddings feel more Noritsu-y and some weddings feel more frontiery in a film sense. And I try and bring that
Mm-hmm.
over into the digital too.
Okay, I actually said that to someone once that I would take film to one lab and have it scanned Frontier and then another lab kind of based off the vibe sometimes. And they were like, Summer, that's so weird. And I was like, I don't know if I have like a barry, edgy, I don't know, like just style. I preferred the Frontier scans and the colors I would get from that lab with them doing it on Frontier. Whereas like a cleaner green, I ended up enjoying going to the. I don't know. It's just interesting. So I love that you said that because I've told that to film people before, and they thought I was crazy. They're like, you just don't use the same exact lab every single time with the same scanner, and I was like, I don't know. Like some weddings just suit this other lab more. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just personal
it's so
taste.
true. And it's that bespoke thought is how did the trees and how did the greens look?
Mm,
Was it like a sun-kissed wedding? Was it a moodier one?
mm,
Like if you try and do a moody wedding on Frontiers, you can lose the image pretty much.
mm,
The character that you would have got just gets quite dull and muddy.
yeah.
So I was saying to you earlier, I've now shifted quite a lot of my work to home scanning. And that's only because the options now are getting crazy good. Because
Mm,
I did a talk with Lenzel on film mastery in September, and then I was sort of like, I'm still doing labs, and it's really shifted since then. There's Kickstarters going off like crazy. It just feels like there's a lot of very smart sort of technology based characters who both love film photography and are really smart with coding and building and product design. And
mm,
I was talking to a friend the other day who said the product design is really easy. It's actually just getting the feel out of the senses
mm.
because we're all living in a world where we've had like one or the other for a really long time. And then these guys are going to kind of come along and they have to decide, are they going to try and replicate what the past is doing, or are they going to try and carve out like a new path of what film is?
That's crazy, actually. So what scanner, if you don't mind me asking,
Mm.
what is the new setup that you're referencing? I've seen it, but is it actually available for the public now?
Yeah, I'm not getting access to like things.
I'm like,
I
well,
need
I
to
don't
study.
know. The way that you speak, I'm like, oh shoot, maybe he was just sent something that's like not
No,
out.
so it's newish. It's called a Filmomat auto carrier, and they do two types. They do like 35 mil, and then they do medium format.
Hmm.
And it is, if you think about it in sort of like very literal terms, I'm still scanning on my camera.
Yeah, camera
So
scans.
that's not like that has changed. It's just the workflow is really improved,
Because it
and
like
then the
auto
software's
feeds and
improved.
everything, right?
It's about 6 seconds to scan a roll,
Oh
which
wow, that's not that bad. Wow.
and the technology is so clever that it basically self triggers the camera, and then it moves it to the next gap, and it keeps an AI is basically looking out for the gaps in the
Hmm.
film, and you can manual and override the process if it makes a mistake or anything like that, and you can set film distances, and you can like really make it as slow or fast
Wow.
as you want. But what I've been finding is it means I can decide if I want to stylize the wedding or I
Hmm.
want to leave it cleaner. And I've really this year what I hadn't said is I spent like maybe 50% of my season just on 35 mil,
Hmm.
purely as like a bit of an experiment,
Hmm.
just to see if it was enough. Because I was so convinced that the couples that are getting married now are so about vibe. Um, they grew up with
Yeah.
digicams and the tail end of 35 mil, and like so many of my couples, it's normally like brides, but like most of my couples, one of them has like an interest in film photography, and they have a point and shoot or a Contax or something. But that's their experience, is going to like Costco with it or like a mini
Hmm.
lab. It's not going to Richards.
Hmm.
So they're looking for like a really specific look. That's what they think film is.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing with my build that I've kind of put together is I want to start clean and then I can grade into it. But the character's there, and I just got to decide if I want a cleaner wedding. I want to sort of create like split tone. It's almost like a darkroom approach, and the software I'm using kind of operates like a darkroom print. So you just have so much more like creative movement over the
Hmm.
file, which is it's just nice not having to rely on a lab technician that's tired and kind of over it.
Yeah. No, I mean, at 6 seconds a roll, I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I would consider something like this. It's just time. I mean, you have kids. The thought of even trying to develop and scan my own film. I'm sure you are you developing too?
No, so I go up to town every 3 weeks with like, let's say maybe like 50 to 60 rolls. And the place that I go to that I've been tight with for probably like 10 years, they did all my music work. And it was quite nice
Yeah.
like revisiting them because I'd had a pause. Um, they still give me my old rate. They do dev only. And then
Hmm.
I asked them not to cut it because that's what ruins that workflow is you want
Yeah.
it to just pull
Yeah.
through. And they develop it. I have like an hour and a half just chilling, getting some food, whatever, and then it's done. Take it home, and then I can decide to do it whenever I've got like a gap.
Do you think maybe the outside of it taking 6 seconds a roll, which is out absolutely basically nothing, do you ever feel as though the time of, transferring it into software, coloring, making your minor adjustments, is that ever so much time that you would consider having a lab scan again? Or is it so freeing and liberating that you're like, no, it's totally worth the time? If anything, maybe save some time because you can get started as soon as you'd want to. You don't have to wait for a lab. You don't have to go mail things to a lab. You don't have to then download from lab. Like, what is your final thoughts on? Because that's a big transition to go from, hey, I'm basically like a lab only guy to I'm gonna scan from home.
So it's not every wedding, and my wife and I have like a really like pragmatic talk about it based
Mm.
on where we are in the year, like how many edits I've got to get through, like sometime this year, I kind of mentioned it got too hardcore at certain points, and it felt like I was just 7-day a weeking for a really long time. I do 5 days of editing, then travel, shoot a wedding, travel home, back in previews and editing, which isn't like no one can sustain that. It's not going to be fun for very long. And I just about managed to get through this year without like totally throwing in the towel. So adding this in has also come with like elements of we're doing 3 days a week of work at home. Then if we're shooting, we're shooting. If we're not shooting, we're doing 5 days a week at home. And film scans take me 1 day, and I try and do 3 weddings in 1 day.
And that's just the scanning, though, not
that's the scanning.
The post-processing.
It includes the post-processing.
Okay, that's not that bad.
So,
that's not that bad.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about it is just like the level that I'm getting out of it. Like, I feel really lucky that people already liked what I was doing with my film work when I was doing labs. But that feels like there's this whole like space that hasn't really been explored, at least in my work, that I'm like, this is crazy. This is 35 mil. I'm not 100% sure what the point of shooting medium format is when I'm self-scanning at home, because it gets quite clean.
Yeah.
It gets so clean that I can kind of emulate a lot of stuff in my GFX. So then the issue is now I'm creating another issue, which is I love darkroom printing, which is like 100% not a workflow for weddings. That just doesn't work. And I had a shoot the other day for a band that I've worked with over the last 10 years. And we shot the album cover in half an hour. And it was 8 rolls of film. And I haven't...
Wild.
And like you compare that to like 10 hours of shooting a wedding. I was like, it's in half an hour. I know we've got the thing. I go to the lab. I just get contacts made. And I circle the 3 images I needed. And then I go print them. And I'm like, fuck, I wish that existed in weddings. And there's like an element of I might just do it for fun, and I think
like,
it might be a nuance.
Would you send a contact sheet to your client?
No, it would be like a fun
just do it
side
yourself,
quest.
Ones. That'd be really freaking cool. I think. I actually think some labs. What was it? I think Indie just started sending contact sheets digitally with their scans. I think it was Indie. And I think that would be interesting, cute look, just like in a gallery for aesthetics. You know what I mean?
I think people like love seeing like the row and row and row of stuff. What's cool about the place I go to in London is their contacts are done in the darkroom rather than like go to serve Epson scan. So they're running it like 3 or 4 times in like color, like choosing the color direction and choosing like the exposure and all this stuff, and you end up with something that just looks like it could be framed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like I've never seen what I think it's Indie or else it's fine. Someone is sending contact sheets now. I'm like, I don't know what that looks like because I don't mail my film to them. But yeah, I do think that would be like a cute piece of art for a client. So if you ended up doing it from your home, I mean, I think it would be worth sending to the client. You know what I mean?
I think they're like really cute presents. Or
yeah.
we'll start seeing people uploading that, and all the people in music and fashion will just start rolling their eyes because they've been doing it since the dawn of film photography in those spaces. Yeah. I feel like we inherit stuff quite late, or we start doing stuff quite late and we get away with it. But outside of like the echo chamber of what we're doing, sometimes people are just like, yeah, that's kind of like part of our process because they're dealing with way fewer images. Therefore they can be that hands-on.
Well, I think too, just like what you said, I think with weddings, a lot of people do have to do a good bit and get pretty tired to sustain themselves. And I think sometimes it comes more out of just a fast-paced world that we're living in, of like not wanting to slow your camera down, not wanting to scan from home, not wanting to do things that would maybe add time into your life. You know, we're in the era of outsourcing and AI and all the things.
And I'm just ruining myself on all these slow things.
No, I think that's beautiful though. It's going to separate you from everyone else in the industry.
There's like I appreciate John Dolan's a very well-known character, and he's like, I think he's the king of gentling things out. And I definitely, when I heard him speaking about it, and he does like, he's quite strong with his anecdotes around sort of pacing and how he sort of does this box process. And his first thing is like a reveal.
Mm.
He goes and meets them in person, has a box of what is his take on the wedding, and he reveals
Wow.
it. And I think there's
In
something
person is
in
crazy.
person's like, obviously there's like budget
Whoa.
points involved where you can fly out to people. Hopefully, maybe they come to him, but um, I don't want to go so far to the point where it's that slow. But I am now offering to couples to skip previews, and I
Mm.
say to them, I think it was probably because I saw like another really well known photographer in our field just go, hey, if you get the photos too quickly, it can replace the couple's actual memory of it.
Mm.
The photo can actually like take over what they actually remember of it. If you just have that little bit longer before you receive what we've made,
Yeah.
they can actually like be present in what they remember from it without the photos becoming the memory. So I'm trying to what's the
Implant.
word, navigate, or almost like navigate the psychology of how a couple experiences the aftermath of their wedding, because I think they have blues and that's why previews really help people.
Yeah. No, I
um
don't think previews are inherently a bad thing, but if you gave that perspective and you allowed the couple to decide, I think that would be a really beautiful way to navigate that experience. I
and
would
it
agree, the average couple, they do not need that many previews, like that many sneak peek. You don't need a ton. I think for me, we end up delivering a good chunk of sneak peeks, but within a week. I think there was a big push to do things within 24 hours. It's only within 24 hours if I am absolutely required to do it now, because I would rather spend time and curate something good than curate something quick. And my couples have not cared. I'll still try to get it to them as soon as possible, but I don't want to like rush something just to send them something within 24 hours. I think it's just like what is the point? I mean, it's not I just they will have a great experience either way. I don't think there's a reason to send maybe like subpar imagery, but also for me, it enables me in my workflow to be able to cull the full wedding before I send any sneaks and then send sneaks. And then the
Do you
wedding's
call
already culled. I
first?
cull first. I cull the whole gallery first. And then I do the sneaks. Cause then I also feel like I get better sneaks because I'm not like rushing it and just like selecting random photos. You know what I mean?
This is this has been something I've been like working through this year, which is I pretty much delivered every single set of previews in under like 40 hours, I'd say.
Mm,
And it was a 32 wedding year, so it was like it was way more than I thought I was going to do at 22.
mm,
And I found the previews were like the real backbreaker,
yeah.
but because I was traveling a lot, my wife and I'll mention Emily a lot 'cause she's a huge part of what I'm doing, and
Yes.
um, she's my project manager in a sense where she's like, this is like, we know where all of our edits are for next year. We have written the names in our calendar. We know week the week whatever July the 7th is this edit, and it's going to take this many days, and I kind of know every single beat of my year going into it.
Mm,
um, and the previews would like on that many weddings, it's like 20 plus days a year on previews.
mhm.
So again, taking that time out means I can do the scanning at home, and I can be more meticulous with what I'm getting people. But I did get into a pattern of being able to like curate the hell out of previews and still feel
Mm,
good about them. But yeah, I've noticed that not everyone needs them. And when I was teaching last month, I really noticed that everyone is just racing to this burnout point.
mhm,
Everyone is just dying on the sword to get people stuff quickly, then they can market it quickly before the couple is sort of like off doing a honeymoon or off doing other things that might not mean that the photos get as much visual presence. I think people are collaborating their posts a lot more now,
mhm.
and the couple's much more like into doing that in the afterglow of their wedding than when they're knee deep in the honeymoon.
No, 100%. I think I just had the epiphany that I think, you know, throwback to back in the day when people only got like 10 previews.
Yeah,
That is not really a thing
amazing.
anymore. It's like, basically a half of a wedding day. I'm kidding. But most people's previews at least are anywhere from, or sneak peeks, whatever you want to call them, anywhere from 40 to 120 images on average. Mine are large because I'd rather, if I am taking a week, just give them like a couple photos from each moment. And then they have so much peace waiting for the final gallery. Because if mother's having a birthday, they already have a portrait with mom, and I don't have to worry about rushing the final gallery. And so that's also why I send a larger sneak peek. I think it's interesting. There can be so many opinions on all sides of this topic. Never even thought to talk about this topic, but it is interesting. At least back in the day, it was so much more standard to send like 10 photos. And I'm like, hey, maybe for someone like you, that makes more sense. You flag them in your camera as you're shooting. You just go ahead and star the image you think is a banger. You do the 10. When you transfer them over, the 10 are already selected, and you don't technically have to even sort through anything. You just throw them in Lightroom and edit the 10 photos. And then they get the full gallery. Maybe that would be like a good middle ground compromise. They get something they can post on Instagram, but they don't get
The
so
whole
many
kitchen
photos.
sink,
Yes. Yeah.
because some weddings were like hitting like 150, and then my wife literally went, but now they're not going to be that stoked when they get the full gallery.
When they get the full gallery, everything's already
you've
revealed.
sent, and chucking it back to like commercial mindset again of we're delivering 2 to 10 images max from a campaign. The idea of delivering like 150 bangers in like inverted commas and that being someone's previews is crazy. The fact that we're operating like this,
Mm-hmm.
the output from wedding photographers and the standard people they're hitting is really high over a really long period of time. It's effectively like marathon running.
Yeah.
And therefore people have to give themselves like more credit and how good people are. But it does mean that the expectations have basically just aligned to how insanely good and productive people are becoming. But also the AI tools are making that even faster, which mean the expectation gets even faster. And now the nuance is coming from slow, at least in my opinion. If I take it slow and I give someone something that's just super emotive and meaningful and it's small and perfectly formed, I think that the crafting aspect will come back to being like a. And I'm feeling like I'm seeing so much AI fatigue at the moment.
Oh, 100%. I think people are actually like adverse. There's going to be like a counterculture shift of being almost adverse to fast, I think. And I think if you go this route of slower and handmade and novelty, I think if anything, one, you're already a film photographer, so your type of client is already into that. But when the anti-AI shift which is already happening, continues to happen, people like you and like the more photo documentary, less fast-paced people are gonna, if anything, kind of rise to the top, in my opinion. I think we do see the shift right now of people being like genuinely adverse to speed and adverse to things just getting cranked out, because I think we've lost such a sense of quality in all aspects of our life these days. Whether it comes to what we're seeing online, whether it comes to even products, whatever it comes to, I think the world is seeing the effects of a faster paced world with less hands-on aspects, and we're seeing it in every industry, not just
convenience,
photography.
basically, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely was hitting it from that general sort of feeling too. Like I've noticed, and I've had a lot of friends who are in other areas of photography go, man, well done shifting into weddings when you did. And I think there's like that's just in photography. I think more generally people are getting sort of over the idea of does every role need to be replaced by this? Do all of these sort of like job creating things need to actually go? What things get lost through this? What human connection goes? I think COVID was like a really insane time for people realizing how much human connection was like a vital energy that people need. Like face-to-face time is really nurturing, and we're lucky that we get to that at weddings. Obviously our social battery is like down post, but they are like you ride a wave the whole thing, right? And I know we're talking about like the positive uses of AI tools, and there are so many. And there are ways that anyone can integrate things, but convenience can't replace like your love of something. And that's maybe when I want to like segue this out is the reason I do these sort of like processes is because they come from like a really passionate place. I like love doing them. If I like didn't like it, I would not be making my day harder. And I was talking to someone the other day about that. They said, what's like a good piece of advice around this stuff? And I was like, If you really love something, protect it like in any way you can. So that's where like the whole concept that I was talking about of like I totally burnt out this year.
Hmm.
And I totally like almost lost something I really loved and I was good at. And the whole, it's maybe not that sort of dramatic, but there's like an element of if you really love something, look after it. So AI actually might help people look after something they really love.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Because it could free up some time.
And then on the other end of it is I don't like the churn aspect of working as a photographer. I'm not like a fast frame per second guy. I
Mm-hmm.
like sort of taking my time over it and really like making something really like I want to print it and put it on the wall and go, that's freestanding and that can be looked at.
Yeah.
I don't want to deliver 10,000 images or a 2,000 image gallery.
That was like, man, I feel like you would appreciate this. They're not even that cool, but I send, well, maybe, okay, maybe they are. I'm don't diminishing this. I send emulsion lifts to my clients. Like, you lift a
Love
Polaroid off
those.
it and then you can put it on whatever. I mean, you could lift it onto a rock, but I normally just lift them onto watercolor paper. And I was doing them yesterday and I was like, I don't think the actual world, when I release like a 20-second reel on me making one, realizes how much like long this is. And if you mess up, like you literally just have to either have another Polaroid, or I use the Polaroid lab for printing them,
Yeah,
because if
yeah.
not, I would have to do them like same night of a wedding, which would be outrageous. So yeah, I don't think people realize like how much time kind of goes into that. And just to do, think like 7 yesterday, it was like that's like hours long process. And I literally said to my assistant, I said, why do I do this to myself? And I was like, because I love it, like I just enjoy doing it. And if
Do you
they,
get
whether
like
they
the
like it or
acid
not,
burn?
I have
Does
not.
that
No.
I always got like the tingles in my hands when I was doing them. So
Oh.
I did one album cover where it was pre me having a Polaroid lab because that was such a good hack.
Yes, it's a good
And
hack because you have to do it soon. If you don't do it within like the same day, it's just going to be so hard to lift the chemicals.
my thing was I had one copy of things. So when
Yeah.
I was doing this album cover, I had like
If you messed up, you're
20
toast.
images. Yeah, if you mess it up, it's gone. And my thing is they ripped really easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I delivered in my music career like 2 emulsion lift album artworks, and I'll send them to you.
Mm. Oh,
And
I would love to see that
one of them was 3 layered on top of
on
each
top of
other
each
in a
other.
collage, so that his face was made from different sections of emulsion lift. And
That's so cool.
it was like a total 1 in a million. This could have just broken so many times. And then I saw it on a billboard around London, and I saw it on another one, and they like put a lot of paid media
That's so
behind it.
cool.
And I was like, that literally happened in my
So,
kitchen
what did
during
you lift it
lockdown.
onto? Like a piece of paper? Like, what did you actually lift those onto? And then did you scan it for them, or did you just give them the print and they decided to scan it for the billboard? Like, what? I would love to know that just before we
So
wrap this episode, because this is
this
so
was
interesting. Because most
it
people don't
was
even know what one
rudimentary.
is.
So I did the lift, and I basically had high GSM paper, so really
Hmm.
thick paper.
Yeah.
So when it's wet, it's not destroyed. And
Mm-hmm.
typically it was like Hannah Mueller art paper, just because it has that lovely texture to sit
Yeah.
below it. Then I dry it out, I'd flatten it overnight, and then I genuinely, and don't think this is like rubbish, but at the time I had 2 cameras. I had a Leica M and I had an iPhone, and I genuinely was getting better outcomes from natural light first thing in the morning with an iPhone, all the lights off.
Hmm.
And I just tripod my iPhone and put it in RAW on ProCam,
And you
and
just took a photo of it and you just sent it to them.
yep.
I
And
love that.
I color balanced it so the white was like totally correct, and it had like the right tones and everything. But ProCam, you could do that.
Oh,
Um,
that's so cool.
but yeah, the Leica didn't do so good on that one, so I then committed to the iPhone, and it was a little bit like the contrast level was just a bit softer, so I could actually like see all the different sort of layers and grade back into it.
Hmm. The Polaroid Lab has I think, scan feature now, which I'm assuming is just your iPhone taking a photo of your Polaroid. So I'm like, I wonder if it would work with my emulsion lifts, because I've never actually digitized the lifts. I've only just like mailed them to the clients. So yeah, I mean, I have a scanner too, which I could use. I have like a Epson. I have a flatbed scanner, but I don't know. I like making them. I don't feel the need to show the world them. Like, I don't feel the need to digitize them for Instagram. I mean, I will be posting a reel about them probably when everyone's listening to this, but I don't feel the need to like post an image of the thing. But the fact that it ended up on a billboard is so freaking cool. I mean, that's like about as analog as I feel like things get. Literally taking hot water to a Polaroid and lifting the image. Like, that's
But
just
I
crazy.
found like when they changed the product into the I-type one, it got really hard to do.
Hmm.
When it was on the older 600 ones, not to get like super nerdy about it, but they like kind of broke away a bit easier because you know how you have to peel that skin layer off
Mm-hmm.
the emulsion, but the
Okay, so that's where fresher is better though. So I
yeah,
did not have that issue except for oh man, I did have that's just an expired pack. Like fresh is best in all scenarios. Like the pack needs to be recently bought and then they need to probably be lifted in my opinion. I try to lift them within like an hour or two of them fully like developing, which is why I like the lab because it still is all the same imperfections of a Polaroid, but
it can
it's
be
just
any
from your
image, right?
iPhone or any image. Yeah, you just
Yeah,
drop an image on your iPhone. It has a real camera and it exposes the film to the iPhone. And I'm like, hey, that's still, in my opinion, that's still a Polaroid. Like, it is still a developing image, even if it wasn't taken out in the field. Just because on a wedding day, say I did take Polaroids, they could sit for 8 hours. And by the time the 8 hours is up, it might not lift well. Like, genuinely, even if I waited, I think yesterday, one of them I waited like 4 hours on, and it was definitely harder. Like it wasn't detaching from like the I don't know all of everything about a Polaroid, but I think like the glue, like the white
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
it was not it was like getting stuck to it and that's like the biggest pain in the butt when trying to do a lift is like not have that transfer into the image. So yeah,
We did
this
a
is
really. Oh, sorry, you go.
oh no, it's just me like this is me really rambling to everyone at this point, but
No, I
it's
love
just so
it.
cool that you know that you've done one too. That's super interesting.
The we This wasn't a emulsion lift, but I had a wedding that was it was probably the biggest wedding I'd ever worked. It was 4 days. I had a team of three,
Mm,
and
whoa.
then the couple requested a photo booth, but a film photo booth. Um, and part of it was like the psychology of we need to make sure that the human traffic through the area we're doing it is high enough for it to
Mm.
be a value to them. But they wanted it all on Polaroid, and I was like, "That's cool, that's easy." And then but we want a digital copy of it too. And I was like, okay,
Whew.
so you want me to live deliver Polaroids, but also have something in the back pocket?
Digitizing them, yeah.
So basically, I had to set up a workaround on the Fuji X100 where it Wi-Fi'd to my phone after I took the shot, and then I printed it through my phone to the Instax printer, and then I still had the Fujifilm original file. But I was doing this in 40 seconds,
Oh.
and
Oh my
and
gosh.
you had to like nail all the quirks of the three processes. And we did this over like 100 something images, and it was like taking up too much space mentally, but it was just I think Polaroids are being really enjoyed again. That's the first
Mhm.
thing to say. Second thing is it's so fun that you can kind of have so many pathways into them.
I
um
actually just recently, like 2 episodes back, had a guy who only shoots Polaroids on the show. And
oh
I'm
my
like, now
gosh,
that is a scary niche, but I love it for you. But holy smokes, it was a very interesting episode. Like that is all he does. Not even Instax, Polaroid only. Like Polaroid only photographer has his Polaroid like souped out with like new modern modifications from some guy in like Australia. And I was like, wow, this is a thing. But I guess, yeah, I mean, people probably hire him in addition to digital photographers, but so interesting that that's all he does. He's just a Polaroid photographer. And I was like,
this
wow,
is the
that's
nuance,
so
man. You got to
niche,
find
man.
it.
See, people are slowing down. I mean, people are hiring Polaroid only photographers, which is crazy.
I've
Polaroid
got some around
scares
the
me.
kitchen though that have color shifted so much that
Yes.
they're only like 2-3 years old, and they like almost look bleached out.
Hmm.
Whereas the Instax ones I find stay really true to what they were
Ooh.
originally.
Wow, that's so interesting. I haven't even tried it Instax. I mostly have Polaroid stuff because of the emulsion lifts, but even real Polaroid. the tones. That's why I don't shoot them at weddings. If anyone's curious, I know Polaroid's really popular,
You get weird ones,
but
right?
you can just have bad packs. Like it can just happen. They're so sensitive to temperature. You don't know how they were handled before they ended up wherever you bought them. Then even if one time I shot one in Utah and it was so cold, and I think they turned like pink because it was cold, and I was like, this. It's also so expensive. I mean, it's what, $25 for 8 photos? With them to be that sensitive, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm only gonna do it when I print them for my home. Like it's just too temperamental for me. Like I love film, but that is one step too far for me, unfortunately.
It was my first ever ambassadorship was the Impossible Project, and I was
Oh
working with a
wow.
music artist, and they were sending me like 20 boxes a week, and I was like,
Wow.
"This is." I particularly like these gold frame ones. For some reason, they just like the colors were I don't know what it was, but that particular batch was just amazing, and
Hmm.
ended up having this really incredible exhibition at House of Fans in London, which is they basically have like a skate park and then music areas for gigs and things like that. And they had maybe like 5 or 6 music like bands playing that night, and then they did an exhibition of mine and a guy called Marcus Haney's work,
Hmm.
who's this like New York. He kind of shoots like youth lifestyle film
Hmm.
images. He did like the original Mumford and Sons covers and things like that.
So
So we had
cool.
like an exhibition like melding our images, and down the center we just had all these Polaroids from 3 years of backstage at various things, from like
That's
Leon
really
Bridges to
cool.
Sam Smith to all of these like now they got really huge over the period. Um, they have a place. I'm
Have you
glad I'm on Portrait now.
have you digitized those Polaroids and stuff from all those concerts and all the things? Like that
I've
would be
got them in
super
an
cool to just have a
album.
digital archive in a capacity.
I definitely I figured let them sit for like 10 years and then go back and see who made it would be really
Hmm.
cool.
That
And
would
there
be cool.
definitely there's people. Do you know Michael Kiwanuka or Ben Howard
Yes.
or Sam Smith was in there.
Hmm.
I did a lot of Mumford and Sons back in the day. There's like probably like 300 artists in there. So
And
I'll come back to it.
well, random hack for you and other people. If anyone owns a flatbed scanner or wants to pick up one cheaply, I feel like they're pretty cheap these days. I and maybe this is old fashioned me, and maybe I should evolve because I bet there's better ways to scan your Polaroids these days. But I have they used to have it. It used to be a popular thing that people owned. It's just the adapter that you can plop your Polaroids in and then put them on the flatbed scanner. And Brooklyn Film Camera re-released it once it went off market. So if anyone wants to buy a Polaroid adapter, I do own that. And I normally scan my Polaroids with my Epson scanner, and it's not. It's not. It's a pretty slow process. I feel like that scanning process is kind of slow, but it's fun. It's easy. You just plop them in. It helps prevent like
That
hidden rings and things.
sound, the sound of the Epson scanner is like really burnt into my youth, just from like crying through like trying to scan 36 frames, and it's sort of
Oh yeah.
taking all year.
I only use it for Polaroids. I know that people scan their film on it, or at least used to, and I'm like, yeah, no, can't do that. Take way too long.
No, too much.
Oh man. Well, Daniel, I would love to hear. Let's see. Let's see. I normally the question changes guest to guest, but I feel like to wrap us up, I've asked this a couple times recently, and I've really enjoyed people's responses. But if you could tell, like younger Daniel, something, whether it be encouraging or whether it be advice that you would have loved to give younger photographer Daniel, man, what would it be? Because I feel like that could be really insightful for everyone listening.
Take your time with bookings.
Hmm.
Just don't be scared to say no. There's like a real fear of saying no, and there's definitely like a needs aspect to it.
Hmm.
But every single year, I found the pace of booking was always fine, and I never trusted it.
Hmm.
And I think so much of you being able to be yourself. I'm speaking specifically to weddings. I think we both share that.
Yeah.
The ability to like vibe check and make sure you're working with people who make your like soul come alive, but also like allow you to be you on a wedding day. You're just going to get to where you want to go much quicker, and you're going to find your own style and your own like heartbeat within weddings way quicker, just from like spending that extra minute going, if the money wasn't important right now, would I do
Would
that
I
one?
want to shoot that wedding? Yeah. That's so
And
good.
that would have really helped me out. And I think that's still something I could take as my own advice, like weekly, is
Mm,
you always have like that pressure, especially when you have kids, of what does that wedding. I like regularly see a therapist, not for like more for just like life management stuff. And he kind of just said every time you take on a booking, what is that doing to your energy? Because money is one type of energy, but then the work that comes with that job is another type of energy. And one's
mhm.
doing that, one's doing that. So you have to kind of always just think about both sides of
Hmm. Yeah, that was so good. That was so good. I love that answer because
it.
everyone's answer is so different. I think it's so important, especially for people if they're more so, no matter what stage they're in, listening to hear, what someone needs to remind themselves of. But Daniel, if you want to go ahead and shout out where everyone can find you, it's going to be in the show notes as always, and in the description anywhere you are. But in case people are audio only, they want to like remember to come back to you. If you want to shout out your Instagram or anything you have up and coming that you would love to tell people, your website, whatever you want to tell them, feel free. This is your moment. Go ahead and tell everyone anywhere that you would love for them to contact you or see your work at.
So my Instagram handle is at Daniel Knight Harris with a K on the night. And then the big thing right now for me is, as I'm in the off season, I'm doing one-to-one mentoring, which I love and has
Mm,
been really amazing already this year. So I cover areas of film as one strand. Then I have business and marketing, which is like a separate strand. And then I have curation, because that's a really big part of
mm,
how I approach things. Um, and I'm not dealing with things of, this is my point of view that you have to do. This is like, I take everything at face value. What are you going through? What are you experiencing? What
mm,
do you want to work on? And I really like hack it for individuals.
mm.
Um, then something really fun that I just launched today, which is actually just like a total passion project being blasted into existence, and it's called Film Drops.
Mm.
And the tag on Instagram is Film Drops LDN, so London. But basically, it's a camera store that I've just launched today, which is for film
Oh
cameras.
shoot! You just launched a film camera store. That's crazy.
And it's really slow. I basically build up a collection of 5 like immaculate, really like road tested cameras that then I drop. And that's the first strand of it, is that people sign up for a wait list and then they come live and they can get them. I've tried to go for ones that are more for like professional photographers who can, like, they look beautiful but they can still work for work, which is
Mm,
kind of like art. You and I are in that same target market of,
mm-hmm.
I wanted to appeal to people like us. And then the second strand of it is that there's a community aspect of it where we're going to have meetups and
Let's
film walks,
go. Let's
and it's going to
go.
be like in-person stuff. And then the third part is, which is really fun, and it's been something been known for, especially for mentees, is it's like camera hunting aspect. So I have a section called Can't Wait, Won't Wait, which is, instead of people having to wait for the drops to kind of be ready, they can go, hey, I want to contact you too. I want it like yesterday. Can you go find me the best one?
Hmm.
So it's just like it takes something I'm really passionate about, and it's something I really like see as a sort of, I don't know, like a separate side quest that I'm kind of into.
That sounds so freaking fun. I'm totally gonna go stalk all of that and chat with you after this. So that's I'm excited for you. That sounds so cool. If I'm in London next year and you guys are doing anything, I will catch myself there. I'm just letting you
We're
know.
gonna do Edinburgh, so we know we're gonna
Yes.
catch up
Oh my
on that.
gosh. Well then, yeah, I'll see you there. You guys, I'm teaching at Thrive. Daniel's coming. Daniel taught it at what, last year, right?
Literally, like, we're talking a month ago.
Oh, wow. So recent. That's crazy. Man, well, we'll both be there. So if any of you are like UK based or you're in America and you just want to fly out, come see us in Edinburgh next year. It's going to be so fun. It's in March. I could probably drop information of that as well. But it has been such a blast having you on. I'm so stoked. This conversation was so good. And we're going to continue a little bit over in Recess, the exclusive version of this podcast. So if you loved listening to Daniel and you want to hear a little more from him, or be a part of our community, join. I think there's like over 200 of us now, which is crazy because it just launched like 8 months ago. So if you want to join us, go ahead and join us below. This is just the free version of everything and more that is over there. And if you love this show, I would absolutely love if you click follow, leave a review, share it with a friend. That would mean the absolute world to me. But we will catch you guys in recess. Bye, guys.